The armed forces of Ukraine continue to advance north and south of Bachmut. On the direction of Bila or Andreyevka, they were successful. They are gaining a foothold on the achieved lines, the General Staff declares. According to him, the Russians unsuccessfully attacked in the Berkivka area. Russian telegram channels write that Russian troops continue to counterattack near Klistchivka in the direction of the Seversky-Donetsk-Donbass Canal, from the western bank of which the enemy was recently driven out by the armed forces of Ukraine. There was also a video from the vicinity of the village of Klistchivka, for which fierce battles have been going on for the third month. The village, which is under the control of the Russians, is being stormed by Ukrainian troops. The Russians defend themselves by redeploying reserves and from time to time counterattacking. Russian telegram channels claim that the video shows burning landings near Klistchivka. Let me remind you that Klistchivka is of great importance. There are dominant heights in case of occupation of which the Ukrainian army will be able to develop an offensive south of Bachmut. On the Lamot section of the Kharkiv direction, the Russians advanced east of Nivsky and east of Tyrny. The enemy also attacked west of Dubrova and east of Novosadovy, the General Staff reported. The military telegram channels of Ukraine and Russia write about the attempts of the Russian assault on Novosolovsky in the Kupiansk area. The fighting, as stated, is already taking place on the territory of the village, which is moved into the gray zone, and neither side can gain a foothold in it. In general, information about the transition of the Russians to the offensive in the Kupiansk and Lamanda sectors continues to arrive on a daily basis. Also, Ukrainian telegram channels report on the partial success of the Russians in the Serebransky forestry. Near Avdiivka, Ukraine is preparing a foothold for expanding the offensive. This was announced yesterday by the deputy director of one of the departments of the National Guard, Ursulovich. According to him, the Russians are now attacking in this direction. However, the armed forces of Ukraine hold their positions and prepare a springboard for their own offensive actions. Russian telegram channels write that Ukraine is already counterattacking in the direction of Krasnogorivka and Vodian and near Avdiivka, but the attacks are supposedly repelled. They also report a successful counterattack by the Ukrainian armed forces southeast of Maryanka, where the Russians lost a fortified area they had recently taken on the heights near the former fur farm. There were no significant changes in the front and the south. But yesterday, the Ukrainian command announced that in a week the Ukrainian armed forces advanced 1.7 kilometers towards Melitopol. In general, it is worth recognizing that the Ukrainian offensive, which began on June 4 on the southern front, has not yet succeeded in breaking through the Russian defense lines. Despite some progress and the liberation of a number of frontline villages, it is still very far from reaching the operational space. In many areas, the fighting took on a positional character. At the same time, unofficially, the Ukrainian military admits that they are suffering heavy losses in people and equipment. Especially in the first days of the offensive, when the armed forces of Ukraine attacked in large forces with the participation of Western tanks and armored personnel carriers. For the most part, the result was not achieved and a significant part of the equipment was hit. The reasons for this have already been repeatedly named by experts. The Russians have long been preparing for an offensive precisely in the southern direction and have well strengthened their positions, including huge minefields through which Ukrainian equipment is moving with difficulty. In addition, the Russians have saturated positions with artillery, and anti-tank guided missiles have dramatically increased the use of drones, and Russian aviation dominates the air. All this allows the Russian army in many cases to detect and destroy the equipment of the armed forces of Ukraine even before it approaches the Russian positions. In such conditions, the command of the armed forces of Ukraine, judging by what the Ukrainian military reports, and this is confirmed by both Russian telegram channels and Western media, decided to change tactics. The emphasis is now on attacking groups of infantry with a small number of armored vehicles, which can more easily sneak up on Russian positions. At the same time, the equipment is used as a taxi. It brings infantry closer to enemy positions and moves back. From the rear comes fire support from tanks, mortars, and artillery.